Seattle.
Hey everyone, I've met anybody online that I haven't met. Robbie, Sean, just finishing up his well-deserved vacation, and he's coming back from Africa tomorrow. We'll have to get the full download at the holiday party coming up here on the 9th of December. But we have an action-packed agenda to work through tonight. We've got Anuj in the room here, our brand new Director of Transportation. We have Alan online, and hopefully his colleague Troy, who's going to talk to us pretty briefly about their copper wire theft that's going on in the neighborhood. And then we'll cover our usual board business. So to start, like we always do, I think I'll turn it over to Halima and team to get us started with the report on the latest. You guys serious?
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. Alrighty, so we'll go ahead and get started. And before I do get started, I see Alan's here and they're going to talk a little bit about the copper wire theft, so I won't get into that too much. I didn't see anything on my records for the last month in the Ocean Park area, but the Sunset Park area, which is adjacent to you, it has been targeted quite a lot. So it is definitely something that could still impact you, especially if you kind of live sort of on the outskirts there. So that would be something that would be important to hear about. And either way, it is affecting the entire city. So even areas that we haven't seen too much activity in, we may still see some kind of trickling effects. So that's all I'll say on that, because there's nothing in particular in this area for the last month. So getting into that for the larcenies, what I did notice, there were 5 larcenies, so just like general thefts. And of those 5, 3 of them were bike thefts. And then combine this with residential burglaries, which are there were 2 of them, and they were actually garage break-ins targeting bikes. So I did notice kind of like a little bit of a uptick in that. And with bike thefts, we have talked about the bike index in the past, and that's something that it's a company that we work with where you can register your bike. A serial number is assigned to the bike, and they basically share their index with the police department. So if we do happen to retrieve the bike after it's been stolen, we're able to link it back to a victim. This not only gets you back your property, but it also helps us in prosecution as kind of getting forward with prosecuting the theft, as we have the actual item that was stolen and a victim linked to it. So that is something to kind of consider. I'll put the link for the bike index on the chat so that you can have access to that. The other thing I had noticed were vehicle burglaries, so vehicle break-ins. These are your window smashes or accessing a vehicle, whether it was unlocked or somehow they were able to unlock it. So we had 8 of the vehicle burglaries, and then vehicle thefts where the entire vehicle was taken. We had 9 of those. And I was looking at kind of if there was any clusters in the area. So what I did notice was that the vehicle burglaries, so your vehicle break-ins, are going to be closer to the beach area. All of them were west of Nielsen Way. So these are like the beach parking lots or those streets that are closer to there. So just kind of keep that in mind when parking your vehicle there. Make sure that that vehicle looks empty on the inside. Even if you have a box that has nothing in it, just nothing that looks like it could potentially have value in it that would be attractive to anybody scoping out the vehicles. And then the motor vehicle thefts, a lot of these were commercial vehicles. They do tend to be CHP reports, so I don't really have access to the details. I know for a while we were having issues with like delivery drivers who would leave the keys in the car and then like run to a house and drop off packages, and the cars were being stolen that way. I don't have enough details to know if that's exactly what it is, but the fact that it's under commercial makes me think that that might be part of it. But we did see a lot of that, and that was mostly east of Main Street. So now it does get into the residential areas. So it does kind of link to what we were noticing in the past. And then pocket picking. So on October 21st, or the weekend of October 21st, the Victorian was hit with 7 incidents of pocket picking, or at least 7 that were reported. So there could have been more. It seemed to have stopped for a bit, but that weekend there was definitely a cluster of incidents. I didn't see anything before or after then. It's just something that for you guys to be aware of. And then the last thing that I have here was an attempted robbery that happened. This was at around 1:40 in the morning on the 2400 block of Oceanfront Walk. The victim was hanging out near the tennis courts and he had his bike with him. 4 juveniles approached him and attempted to take the bike. He didn't let them, and they ended up punching him and pepper spraying him. They ran away and didn't take his property, but obviously there was an assault that was made. He called PD, and so that still remains open. And with that, I believe that the injuries were minor, so he wasn't taken to the hospital. That he was checked for injuries consistent with some sort of assault that had happened. So just something to be aware of there. So that's all I have as far as the crime reports go. And this Thursday, November 16th, we're going to have a coffee with a cop at the Pico Culture House. This is going to be actually coffee and art with a cop. We're going to have some refreshments, some snacks. It should be fun. It's going to be from 5 to 7 p.m. So if you guys are free, stop by and say hello. And that is all I have. So I'll go ahead and open it to questions unless Officer Navarro has anything to add that I may have missed. Okay. All right. Do we have any questions?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Do you have a address for this coffee house for coffee with the cops?
Yes. I'll put that in the chat now.
Okay, thank you.
Amazing. Nobody with a hand up here. Anybody else online? Oh, okay, Drew's down.
Could you repeat the date and time for that event? The coffee with the cops?
Yes, it's going to be this Thursday from 5 to 7 at the Pico Culture House, which is 1318 Pico. I'm writing it in the chat. This is the Pico Business, oh my gosh, Pico Improvement Organization, PIO. They're basically all the businesses on Pico. They work together and they have different events. This is their little pop-up that they have. And so they have different events there. So we're collaborating on this one together.
Thanks so much, guys, for giving us the updates. And we'll hope that you guys swing by the holiday party on the 9th. And,
yeah, did you say that was December 9th? What is the time for that?
Yeah, so it's at the Victorian, so we'll put onto our phones or, make sure that was. But yeah, the Victorian from 3 to 5:30. It's in conjunction with the tree lighting that's happening at 5:30. Right across the lawn there on the History Museum. So anyway, thank you so much, guys. Did you hear me okay?
No, it's a little hard to understand him.
Okay, I can, I'll put the details in the chat, but it's, December 9th from 3 to 5:30 at the Victorian.
Oh, got it. I see it on the chat.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Alan, we'd love to hear a little bit about, what do you know about the copper wire?
Hi, good evening, everybody. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to come to be on here and talk to all of you. Obviously, you know that copper wire theft has been fairly prevalent here in Santa Monica lately. Maintaining the street lighting infrastructure is very critical. It's critical for safe operation of roads, walkways, all throughout the city. Supply chain issues and staffing shortages have always been a factor for response times in getting all these areas repaired, whether it's one light or two light or an entire circuit that goes out. But with the recent uptick of all the wire theft that we're experiencing pretty much across the entire country, our capabilities, we're a small city, we have very few staff. It's been severely impacted. The city of Santa Monica, we are currently utilizing additional resources to repair and replace these areas that have experienced wire theft and the damage that they cause by bringing on board an emergency on-call contractor to help us basically reestablish service. As an effort to bring back these street lights that were lost due to wire theft is underway, other areas are constantly going out. So there's going to be a lot of dark spots. Truth be told, we cannot keep up with the amount of volume. So we can't repair it as fast as they're damaging it. At this point in time, we're asking for anybody that sees any suspicious activity in their neighborhoods to immediately report it to the Santa Monica Police Department. Halima, can you please post the two numbers, the non-emergency number? I had it. I was going to post it, but
I'll take care of that. I'll put that in there.
all right, thanks, boss. So there are some residents, some of you that have video recorders, Ring cameras, and security systems. If you happen to notice that your security system has caught video of something suspicious, we encourage you to turn it over to the Santa Monica Police Department. At the end of the day, all of you residents, the business owners of the in the city of Santa Monica, and the visitors that visit our city, you guys are our eyes and our ears for what's going on in the communities. We rely on you and your insight to gain information to be able to maintain and preserve this critical city infrastructure. We do appreciate every 311 request that comes in, because it helps us in identifying the areas that are being targeted. Again, like I said, without you, none of this would have been known. There's already been a ton of reports that have gone to us and to Santa Monica Police about this. So it's pretty much all I had to say. I did want to also point out these pull boxes and these areas where these thieves are vandalizing and pulling out wire. It's not a very common area for us as city, staff to even get into, because there's no real need, unless there's a contractor that hits a conduit or something, or a light that goes out. We need to troubleshoot to find out whether a fuse is blown or something. So if you see anybody, in these boxes, if you see anybody in the area, performing something that may or may not look official, a couple of things to keep in mind. Are they wearing city attire? Are they wearing a city vest with a city emblem or a city logo on it? Are they driving a vehicle that has a city logo on it? Every single one of our staff members drive city vehicles. So if you see a vehicle that looks suspicious, or somebody who's doing something that looks suspicious and they're not around a city vehicle, then that's automatically suspect. We encourage you to contact Santa Monica Police. If you see something in progress, please dial 911 and report it immediately. If you see something after the fact, you can contact the non-emergency number and report it that way. Let us know through 311. Everything that you guys do is to get us this information is very much appreciated. And I just wanted to thank you, all of you who have utilized this system. This pretty much concludes what I wanted to say about it. Is there anybody that has any questions about this?
There are a couple of hands. Yep. What are you doing about hardening the system to stop people from taking these wires?
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand what you said.
What are you doing about hardening the system so people can't take these wires? I mean, I see them just screw up little cap and take the wire out. Why don't they lock and seal down, weld down so people can't take the wires out?
I'm sorry, I still couldn't understand what you were saying. There's kind of a muffled echo going on. Are you asking why we're not securing it?
Yeah, the question was, what are we doing to harden access to the wire so that they can't steal it?
Well, I can't get into specifics, but what we are doing is we're pretty much doing everything that we can to try to make it harder for them to get into these areas. See, the problem is the city of Santa Monica, we have over 6,000 streetlights. Each one of these streetlights has a streetlight pull box. There are pull boxes in between pull box runs, sometimes with no streetlight. So there's more pull boxes than there are streetlights within the city. It's not easy, it's not fast, and it's definitely not cheap to secure them. So this is something that it's never really been that big of an issue here. I mean, as far as I know, I've been with the city for going on 10 years, and we've only experienced wire theft, you know, in this magnitude for the past couple of years. I've spoken to multiple different municipalities. I've spoken to LA, I've spoken to Phoenix, I've talked all the way across the country to, you know, St. Paul. I've talked to a bunch of different cities as to what they're doing to mitigate it. We're pretty much on the same, you know, plane as everyone else with what we're doing. The problem is these measures have never been implemented in the past because it's never been a problem in the past. Now that it's becoming a problem, we're basically taking the necessary steps to mitigate this in the future.
What are the necessary steps that you're taking? And I guess there's plates, I think there's plates at the bottom of the street lights, and there's bolts. Have you considered welding those plates into the or welding bolts, or cutting them off, or doing something like that so they're, you know, tough to get in there?
So it's kind of a double sword. So if we go all the way and we make it so that it's completely impenetrable, our own staff won't be able to access it for service. If we do nothing, obviously it's just going to get worse. So what we are doing, without getting into the specifics, we are securing the pull box lids themselves, but we're leaving it in a way, not the pull box lids, but we're leaving it in a way where our staff can still get in there and check on fuses and check on wiring. So the base of the pole, what you're talking about those little metal plates, so the base of the pole, that's not an easy access point for these thieves to basically pull the wire. What you see around the city, you'll see, you know, homeless tapping into that and wiring in receptacles and charging their own personal electronic devices. By all means, if you see something like that, definitely report it to 301. We will get to those. That's not what we're concerned with. Right now, what we're concerned with is the tens of thousands, if not almost hundreds of thousands, no, tens of thousands of linear feet of wire that's being stolen out of these conduits coming from these pull boxes. So right now, what we're doing is we're utilizing any resource that we have, any and all resources that we have to try to secure these pull boxes.
Thank you for sharing, and I definitely think this group would be you know, the ones that can keep an eye out in the neighborhood. Unless there's any other questions, we'll keep moving. All right. Thank you so much, Alan, for the introduce you.
I appreciate all of you, and again, by all means, if you see something, please say something. And if you see anything out there that doesn't look right, or if you see anything that's out for an extended period of time, please feel free to submit a 311 so we know about it. We might not be aware of it. If we are aware of it, the 311 tickets will be closed with an internal work order being generated and placed on our internal queue so that we can address it. But that way, you know that we know about it. Now that there's a work order in the system, we'll get to it. But like I said, right now, because of the massive amount of wire theft that we're experiencing, that has to take priority. But we will get to you. Thank you very much. I appreciate this platform. I appreciate all of your time.
Thank you, Alan.
All right. Thanks, everybody. It's really great to be with all of you tonight. My name is Anuj Gupta, and I've been a member of the city staff for about 6 years. I was deputy city manager from fall of 2017 until just a few months ago. And then when our prior Department of Transportation Director, Ed King, retired this summer, I stepped in as the interim director, and then last month was appointed as the permanent director of the Department of Transportation. So thank you. So I'm very, very excited for this opportunity. It is it's a big job. I've already definitely done on me over the last 3 months. It's a huge department, but it's also a really amazing team and a great opportunity, I think, given everything that's happening and given the community that we live in and how passionate all of you are and all the people in every neighborhood of the city are about how we move around the city, how we safely move around the city. Certainly my hope and my top priority, how we make our community accessible to everybody through every different mode of transportation, people with different backgrounds, different physical abilities. That really is what I bring to the table in terms of my focus, my priorities as the Director of Transportation in Santa Monica. And part of what excited me about this opportunity is that I really feel like as a policy area, and really my background is in policy for most of my career, transportation really is where it all comes together, right? If you think about sustainability, and so many of us love Santa Monica, live in Santa Monica, work in Santa Monica because of our commitment to sustainability. Obviously, what we do in Santa Monica in the transportation space is, very much ahead of the curve and very focused on reducing our carbon emissions. We know that 2/3 of our carbon emissions in Santa Monica come from vehicle emissions. We have the ability, and we are turning that tide. We're on the path to making our big blue bus fleet fully electric by 2030 already. We have about 20 fully battery electric buses in service now. We are leading the way on enhancing, what we call active transportation, bike, scooter, walking, enhancing safety. I will be the first to tell you we're not where we need to be yet, but we have a lot of great projects underway all across the city to make it safer, make it easier, make it more inviting to do, all of the other options other than getting in your car and driving alone, which is sort of, from a policy perspective, from a sustainability perspective, the least favorite, but we want our drivers to be safe too. We want our drivers to be operating safely. We have a close partnership, I don't know if they're still on, but with the PD folks we work with regularly. I worked with Chief Batista for years, and now in my new capacity, I'm deepening my relationship with him because, safety, Vision Zero is, really only possible to be advanced through mobility and engineering, but also enforcement and obviously educating our public about how to operate safely, walk, drive, bike, etc. So that's kind of my overall, introduction into who I am, what my priorities are. I want to just touch on a few sort of big things happening, and then I'd love to, get your feedback, take your questions. One thing I mentioned, Vision Zero, for those of you who aren't familiar, it really is a policy goal that guides pretty much all of our mobility work in the city, and really is a core principle of our Department of Transportation. The City Council adopted it in 2016. It really originated, I think, in Sweden for the first time, but basically it's, what you call a stretch goal or an aspirational goal, but one that I think we have collectively the ability to make a real goal, which is eliminating all fatal or severe injury crashes on our roadways, on our streets within 10 years. So it was adopted in 2016 by the City Council. We're obviously getting pretty close to 2026. And, we're reminded, unfortunately, very recently that we're not there yet. We had a fatal bike crash about 2 weeks ago. A car and a bike. There was a collision at 19th in Idaho, and unfortunately, the biker did not survive. And it was just a devastating reminder of the fact that we have more work to do on all those fronts, right? Designing and engineering our streets differently, innovating, educating our public, educating drivers, cyclists, pedestrians, everybody about how to be safe, and certainly having enforcement for folks who aren't abiding by the laws. But our Vision Zero work drives all of the plans that we're moving forward, whether it's Ocean Avenue and the protected bikeway, the amazing project at 17th Street, which is really kind of a leading project in our state. And we're doing an official ribbon cutting on December 2nd for that. So we'll send you details, but a ribbon cutting for our 17th Street project is coming up. And all the things happening really all around the city to make it safer, to redesign our streets. And also, like I said, education, enforcement, and engineering are really the 3 E's behind Vision Zero. And that's what we're kind of all focused on all together. On the bus side, as I mentioned, we're going fully electric. We're also focused. I had a conversation earlier, I think, with Jeff about some of the challenges that still exist on public transit, and it's our responsibility to make public transit as inviting, as safe to everybody. If we want to convince people to use it, they've got to not have bad experiences or feel uncomfortable on it. We can't prevent every incident from happening, but we are really focused. And I think our Big Blue Bus system overall is a very clean and very safe system. We have incidents, we have challenges like any other jurisdiction in the region. We're going to be standing up in the next few months a transit security officer program, which is kind of like the Metro Ambassador program that's had a lot of success over the last year. So not on every single bus at all times, but we're going to be having on certain routes, on certain buses, unarmed security ambassadors essentially who will be supporting the bus operator, supporting passengers, and just making sure that folks are, behaving appropriately, and then reporting incidences if there are problems that are occurring. So we're in the RFP phase for that now. That'll be probably rolling out on our buses in the spring. And then we're leveraging technology. We want to make sure that our bus system is inviting, it's efficient, it's fast. So when you see those bus-only lanes, you see them on Lincoln, the red painted lanes, we want to make sure that those are not being blocked by parked cars. So we're using, we did a pilot with kind of AI cameras we put on our buses to make sure that we can identify and then eventually cite parked cars in bus lanes. And we're aiming to do the same with bike lanes, to keep our bike lanes clear and free and safe for bikers. So using technology where we can to kind of help. We all don't have enough staff. I think I'm sure you've heard that from almost every person from every city department who's presented to you in the last few years. It's an unfortunate reality, and it's one that I face now in this department. But we want to find different ways to keep solving problems, keep serving our community, and technology can help us there as well. And then one more opportunity I wanted to share with all of you to get involved. Our Big Blue Bus every 8 to 10 years goes through, has a very wonky name. It's called a comprehensive operational analysis. What that basically means is a strategic plan. It's saying, okay, it's been a while. Let's figure out, are we actually serving our users? Are we attracting new users? Are we responding to things that have changed? And we're definitely due for that now. We are in a very different world. We're post-COVID. People's commuting patterns have changed. We have work from home. We're preparing for big events coming, the World Cup, the Olympics, and we want to make sure that our transit system doesn't just serve folks who are using it now, but actually meets people for what they need now so that we can bring in new users. So we're doing a very comprehensive study of our routes, our service models, our timing, and we want everybody's input, especially in our community. So our team will be reaching out, to the OPA leadership on a neighborhood group, kind of forum or focus group to get the feedback of OPA and of all of our neighborhood groups in the city about what's working right now or what you want to see differently out of our Big Blue Bus service in the future. So that'll probably be happening in the next month or two. We want you to look out for that. And then one other thing, I may be anticipating a question here, but I know a lot of folks in this neighborhood in particular, of course, are very concerned about Nielsen Way and safety and speeding on that corridor. It's something that we have been focused on for years. This is probably not new information to you, but we have been working on this. We got additional council direction about 2 years ago. So a couple of updates on things that have happened since then. We had a meeting with residents in January of 2022, did a lot of data identifying where the speeding is happening and when. And basically the short version is Nielsen Way much more so than Barnard, and nighttime much more so than daytime, if you had to kind of put it in the headline. So one thing that we did soon after getting that data is at the intersection at Ocean Park and Nielsen, created every night now from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. what we call a rest in red traffic signal at the intersection. It's the first of its kind in the city. And what that basically means is it's from 11 to 5 overnight, the signal is red in all directions. And so it stays that way until a vehicle approaches. Now, what's interesting is because of the traffic engineering, if a vehicle is approaching on either corridor, right, at the speed limit or below, they will get that green and be able to proceed through. If a vehicle is speeding, it will remain in red until they come to a stop, and then they get the green after waiting. So it's a sounds kind of like a little tweak, but it actually is a really meaningful improvement to controlling speed and improving safety in the corridor. One other thing coming soon next year as part of our Public Works team's annual repaving, we will be repaving Nielsen Way. Short term, I'm sure an inconvenience for the neighborhood, but in the long term, that allows us to restripe, repaint, and make some real safety improvements in the lines and the markings on the pavement, again, to ensure visibility, enhance the crosswalks. And that's something that we're really focused on because, I live in this community. I mentioned at the beginning, I live in Sunset Park. Love bringing my kids to the farmer's market or, to the South Beach playground. I've crossed, from the parking lot over Nielsen many times, and it's far more dangerous for anybody of any age than it ought to be because of speeding drivers, folks disregarding crosswalks. We've had issues from time to time of visibility as well. So it was reported by a resident a few months ago that some of the trees were kind of obstructing the crosswalk signs. So we worked with the Shores to actually prune back it was their trees, not city trees. But again, just to do everything we can to enhance visibility, enhance safety. And that's certainly my focus in the department. So that's kind of a Nielsen Way update. And then stop signs, one other thing that I know the community is very focused on. I can talk more about it. It's again, sort of a technical process, but we get stop sign requests from the community through 311, through our website, through phone calls or emails. We put them in a queue, and then we have to do what's called a warrant analysis, which basically is a way to do a process to assess whether an intersection kind of meets the criteria for a stop sign. We've done a big round of that in the last few months, and we've been actually putting in stop signs almost on a weekly basis around the community. Recently, we had 2 just in the last few weeks in the Ocean Park neighborhood. Strand and 5th was last week, so just up the road here, and then Hill and 7th last month. And then I think this is just over the border into Sunset Park, but 10th and Bay we also did last month as well. So we continue to take those requests in and process them. I know there's a lot of focus on that issue in particular with a recent crash at 19th and Idaho, to see what we can do to expedite and rebalance those criteria. We have an item on the council agenda tomorrow night, trying to kind of move us further in that direction. And that's something that certainly we're ready to support. It all comes down to our capacity as far as turning these around and actually physically installing them. But we're doing everything we can to enhance safety in the community. So that's kind of my opening spiel. I know it was a lot, but happy to take questions.
Yeah, I know at least Judy had one. She was.
I think you already know this one, but we definitely need a four-way stop at the corner of 6th and Ashland. And I have a feeling it doesn't meet the criteria because it's really close to the four-way stop at 6th and Highland. They're very close, but it doesn't matter. It's really dangerous. I go past through that intersection several times a day.
Yep.
And it's really dangerous.
I'm especially familiar with that one, Judy, because I dropped my daughter off at the growing place at 4th and Ashland,
Okay.
making a right onto Ashland, but you can see, cars flying down, and very familiar with that challenge. And so I don't know if that's been formally requested. I'm sure someone
I
has
have
it at a certain
formally
point. Okay, so I can certainly check in on that and get you an info on where it is.
Well, I asked David White. I also wanted to thank you for the bus on 4th Street, the 18
Yep.
bus. That is fabulous. I haven't been using it during the COVID times, but it is a wonderful bus line. And please keep it.
So one of the things that we could do, if you're up for this, is the neighborhood organization with the large mailing list. If it's properly structured, we could ask the community about, everyone has their own intersection by their house, right? And try to, paint a picture of what the community thinks and give you that data. It might be a little raw, but if you think that would be of value, we'd be glad to do something like that.
Yeah, I can definitely talk to our mobility team about what the format of that would be the most helpful. We're always we have a portal on our webpage where we take the incoming. We'd be happy to get more data, more feedback. I have to say on behalf of my staff, I want to manage expectations. So, if we get a request from everybody to have a stop sign at every intersection, there's an argument for that, right? But even then we literally have one full-time signs and markings and then one basically part-time. So we have 1.5 people essentially to do all of the signs and markings across this city. And that's not just, installing and painting four-way stops, but anytime a crosswalk needs repainting, anytime we need to install any kind of roadway signage. So but I think the data the incoming is what's really helpful. Yeah,
we could do, and then it's up to you guys
exactly.
to
So
prioritize
happy to
it.
talk.
Know
Yeah.
how to apply the right question.
Definitely.
Help you prioritize.
All kinds of innovation. Yeah,
I want to hand out, I don't have enough copies for everyone, but it's primarily about Lincoln Boulevard Task Force
Yes.
and the need for, I didn't make enough. And
Did you email me earlier tonight?
I sent you.
Okay, I saw that. No, no worries, I saw your email.
And I had to read back the address of Peter James, his personal address. He's somewhere in the Andes, so.
He is.
Anyway, so in any case,
He's got quite a year, he's lined up this year.
exactly. He's the original Lincoln Boulevard Task Force, which is Cook and Stewart here, and Jeff Jarrow was Cook and Stewart. We came up with, we supported the Big Blue Bus priority lane very early on, but we also requested that there be more crosswalks and that there be, signalized crosswalks for pedestrians at 3 additional intersections. Upgrades to the other streets crosswalks, Olympic, I think it is, Pearl and Ashland, to have some kind of a safety zone in the middle of the street for people who are crossing, may not make it through all the way. And the other one was, the 3 crosswalks and improved pedestrian lights. And we lost the funding that we had for the project in COVID, but I understand there's like $4 million for lighting, so there's some money. But I think, it's a busy. Huh?
I believe it's 7 million.
Oh, is it really? Yeah, that'll
From
cover part of it.
Mr. Bloom and Congressman Ted Lieu. I don't know if Ted.
Yeah,
Lieu's
yeah,
gone through yet,
exactly.
That one has not. Go ahead.
But the pedestrian lights are really critical because it is pretty dark. And now that we're getting, replacement of automotive businesses and we're getting more residents in the area, soon Gelson, so we already have 2 others that are fully complete now. There's a lot of pedestrians and 50,000 cars a day. Well, maybe not quite that today, but it's a dangerous street. I'm surprised we don't have more deaths on the street.
I think we've had enough.
Yeah.
We've had enough.
So you forwarded the email along and.
I sent it to the admin but it was very late in the day. I'm just working with a new program and we didn't redact the line carbons.
I got your email, and I think it's a really key point. So just a quick history on that, as you said, it was called the Link Project, which came out of a lot of the work that you all did. The Lincoln Neighborhood Corridor Project was a fantastic project that I was excited about when I first started with the city. It was like virtually every other CIP capital improvement project was defunded in the restructuring in 2020. We did get about $4 million from Assemblymember Bloom in state funding. And so basically we parceled out what piece of the project we can move forward with that money. And we continue to request at the federal and state level more funding to move other pieces of that forward. So as you said, we're moving forward with the lighting component. We continue to apply for, we did apply and Congressman Lieu did put forward an earmark request essentially at the federal level that's now been dramatically, skinnied down by the legislative process and the majority on the House side. We're hoping to still get at least some money out of that this cycle. So we're definitely committed to moving it forward as much as we can. Kind of
The walking
piece by piece
area
with the funding.
at Ashland and at Pearl
Yep.
are now right in front of new buildings, new housing.
Yep.
And we've lived there for almost 50 years. And we know how many people basically have been killed on that street, trying to cross the street, many times at the light. So to me, that is a high priority that we'd like to see done for those 2 places now that you have buildings already set to go.
Well, the other thing that you need to keep in mind when you look at the Lincoln project is some of us had an opportunity to meet with the developers for the project that's going in on Ocean Park and Lincoln.
Yep.
And there are some mobility challenges there based on where they had to put the driveway. So I hope that you have a chance over the next few months to get together with them to talk about what they're thinking with ingress and egress, and don't wait for it to go through the process. Try to be proactive, because one of the challenges is going to be, on the driveway that's south of Ocean Park, right? The developer said it's probably too close to the Ocean Park to have a traffic light, and yet people are going to be crossing. I don't know if it's at Grant or whatever street it is. Grant's up at Pico, so that's That's something you
So
guys-
we've got about 5 more minutes for questions. I think the word, okay, I couldn't see it around the corner, and then I know there's a couple of hands back. So,
But it's, might be part of your overall plan that you were talking about to improve the streets and safety and everything, but can you tell me why all the right turn lanes have been removed, many of the intersections in Ocean Park and Sunset?
So can you give me an example of what you mean?
Yes, on, I believe it's Cloverfield and Pico. There was a right turn lane going from Ocean Park to Pico.
Yep.
And then it was built out so that there's only a single lane.
Yep.
You can't, you can only go straight, but it's happening many other instances, and I don't understand.
Yeah,
Maybe.
so I have another one, actually, my other child, I drop off to school taking that. So this year, since I moved jobs, actually, I now take my son to school more, which puts me at that right turn, so I'm very familiar with that one as well. You know, I think this speaks to the balance that I was talking about earlier, right? The different users of our roadway. So that specific one is an example of safety improvements we were making on a Pico corridor that are focused on, you know, pedestrians primarily. And that Pico and Cloverfield is an intersection where we've had a very high volume of pedestrian crashes. And so what you see there now are what we call bulb outs. And so the intersections essentially, the crosswalks have been made shorter with larger, you know, pavement that bulbs out into the roadway. So basically, you know, the space for cars has been reduced, and the space for pedestrians to cross safely has been increased. So I think in some instances where you're seeing, you know, lanes removed or turning lanes removed, it is because, you know, we're certain projects that are rebalancing the needs of the different users of the roadway. And that's one where, you know, we have now much larger kind of bulb outs at all 4 corners there, which makes it a much shorter crossing distance for a pedestrian trying to get to Virginia Avenue Park or the Whole Foods or come into the residential neighborhood at that intersection. But it did result in taking away that dedicated right turn lane. So that's kind of the balance we're trying to strike, right? And there is, when we're increasing safety for pedestrians or cyclists, it results in a decrease in convenience or maybe kind of traffic speed for vehicles. And that's part of the trade-off that we're wrestling with for all of this work.
Hi, my name is Andy. I'm the neighborhood over 10 years, but that's my first meeting. Thank you for letting me speak. I got 4 quick points I want to make. I live on Ocean Avenue, just between Big Cell and Pacific. That's also, even though there's stop signs there, that's also kind of a racetrack as well. I was wondering what the possibility potentially of putting a speed bump every now and again there would be. The second point I wanted to bring up, I'm just going to spit it out and you can just fire back at me. So I don't want to take too much time. The second thing is 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, often donuts in the parking lot, maybe some kind of speed bump or type things that prevent these. I would have strong things I would like to call them, but I won't. I'll do that. And then also these similar individuals have very loud stereos. It's not like get off my lawn because that stuff came out when I was in high school with a loud bass and everything, but like there's a time and place for that. It's just like not that between like 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. So I don't know if there's noise signage we can put, because I know in Maria Del Rey, in certain areas they have like this is a quiet residential zone, and Brookdale, the old age home is right there, so it's not really wonderful for those folks to be hearing, you know, Lil Yachty at 5 o'clock in the morning, you know. And the last thing would be there's a lot of activity on Ocean Avenue all night. I know that firsthand. I saw the cops all the time. So I don't know what the feasibility of those little boxes that have like a blue and white pseudo siren without noise that kind of just sit there and deter people because it's like, oh, maybe there's a cop there. You know what I'm talking about?
Like the emergency funds?
No, it just literally looks like the siren on top of an old police car with a light, with that blue and red. They're just on, you know, like a box that contains circuitry of some kind in order to power it. Maybe that can be put there as a deterrent in other areas, maybe the Hebrew, copper wire, and Sunset Park. Just
so I'll hit these real quick, Andy. Just real quick on speed bumps. So, that's a request we get a lot. It also reflects kind of the partnership with our fellow public safety departments, because I'll just be very frank, in our experience, police and firefighter especially, really have a hard time with speed bumps. They basically would rather not have them because of the impediments to their, rigs getting places fast and safe when they need to respond quickly. But that's something that, there's different design options, things that we can continue to look at. Donuts in the beach lots, I would just say, to the theme earlier, if you see something, say something. If you can call it in, it's not necessarily the top enforcement priority, but the more they get the calls, the more they can prioritize periodically enforcing against things like that. Noise signage, hear you, and there's also a pilot state legislation for noise camera enforcement, basically like decibel readers that could do enforcement. So we're seeking to get added to that legislation on a going forward basis, something the mayor has been really passionate about. And then sirens, interesting idea. It's first I'm hearing of it.
I mean, not.
But like, the visual, yeah. And I think
the bike store on the corner.
it's something that we could share with PD as well.
They have one in the window with the bike store on the corner.
So we are over, but let's keep going. We just gotta be quick about what the question is, and then if you can allow me to give the answer, that'd be great.
So I had 4 questions, points that I want to bring up.
So what's the most important
And
ones? Let's pick the most.
Closing
important.
off residential streets, stop signs, where there's only, 2-way, it's not all 4. The big blue bus, the residential street, a bus does not belong on a residential street. So I'm sorry, Judy, I don't like the bus on 4th Street, it's a residential street.
Sorry.
And the benches, I don't know if that's your department, but those benches, I know it was a whole city fiasco. I feel bad, those benches, it's one single seat, it's awful. So the big blue bus with the residential streets, that's a no-no. Stop signs, we need more stop signs. Closing off certain residential streets, and Nielsen Way needs speed bumps. Those are my 4 things.
So both your and Judy's feedback on Big Blue Bus service, perfect timing. And as I said, we'll be back at you with a focus group opportunity for you to weigh in on your feelings on bus benches. Tough subject, sore subject. I think it's a balance between obviously creating seating and shade, and then preventing folks from kind of essentially camping.
Should prevent people from camping.
So that's that's the balance, but that's why we get difficult is design decisions basically.
I think these are the last 2.
So the closing off of certain residential streets, let me give you an example, like over by SMC, because it was so crazy, hectic with people looking for parking, students looking for parking. So they closed off those streets, like if you go to, I think it's 16th Street.
Yeah.
I remember it was temporary when they closed them off, and then now it's, formally closed off with like a whole sidewalk and grass area. How does one do that?
So that's a longer term sort of community and council driven process, but ultimately would be probably something that would, if there's sufficient safety data and if there's direction from the city council, we would look into that.
Okay, thank you.
David.
Yeah, I actually stole a little bit of my thunder. Yeah, the buses, I'd like to see more covered bus stops for rain and sun. And the seating, we really got to improve the seating.
Yeah, and I think one of the prior newsletters, we also separately were doing what's a bus stop amenities survey. And if that hasn't been shared yet, it's open until the end of the month. So I'll make sure that Robbie's got the link to share that out to provide exactly that feedback.
Thank you.
And I'm so sorry, did you say anything about the speed bumps on the Nielsen Way?
I just said
I'm
earlier,
so sorry.
speed bumps are really difficult because of the fire department.
Thank you, you did, thank you.
So we brought that to some of the neighbors, the Shores, brought that to Councilmember Brock, and he brought it to the city, and within 48 hours, Bill had to come back and say, it's not gonna happen because the safety organization.
It's a racing track.
We're gonna address that. It's a big priority.
I
for
live
the
right there, and I like to walk, and I can't walk. because it's a
I
racing
live
track.
there too. I'm right there with you. Both of us,
Last question.
you're in the right place.
I like it's hard to get it together, but the bus and the bikes, or rather the scooters. When I get around town, I don't see too many scooters, or I can't really, like along Pico, I don't see any scooters. You want to have an incentive for people to use the bus, or and take a scooter and do their finite transportation. Well, there's no scooters. I really don't see any scooters at bus stops. Where I do see them, and it's a problem, is along Barnard. They're using that as a recreational area, not for transit. And of course, on the bike path, we got various gasoline powered, petrol powered, and you know, a lot of electric vehicles there, and they're starting to usurp, basically make it dangerous to use the bike path. You know this,
Yes.
but I'll just repeat it: the buses and the electric scooters. I think you should emphasize the company to lay those scooters at the bus stops.
Yeah, and we're transitioning over the next couple of months to a new scooter program, and part of that is going to be ensuring that they're deploying them throughout the city and kind of in a balanced way that actually works for that first mile, last mile.
What about the bike path there? Are scooters?
Yeah, so a lot. I mean, we currently require them to deactivate or kill the motor essentially, and a lot of what we're seeing on the beach bike path now is people who now own what are the equivalent of bird scooters or motorized scooters, and so we don't have the ability to, you know, magically switch them off. But it comes again back to enforcement, which, you know, we do where we can, and our partners too.
Clearly an issue that people are enthusiastic.
Always.
Thanks so much for joining.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Appreciate it being here.
So I think what we're gonna do now is move on to some of the board business. There is a sign-in sheet that's going around. We'd love, if you could sign in. And I know Christina was gonna give, kind of kick us off here with, the election update, to start off our executive committee update.
All right, hi guys, can you hear me?
We sure can, we sure can.
Perfect. I am going to read our slate of nominees for our upcoming election. And if I butcher your last name, I apologize. I should have called everybody and asked how to say them. But the following individuals are running for open director seats for 2024. Abe Sassoon, Dave Tan, Aaron Mossbaugh, Jeffrey Jarrow, Lucy Stone, Robbie Lear, and Will Burrington. Again, if I butchered your last name, I am so sorry. Next on our list is the election committee. The election committee this year is comprised of myself and Patty Tan, who's in the room with you, and Charles Allen, who is our non-board member, but a member of OPA who will help count the votes. And finally, we currently have 12 seats on our board. We can go up to, in the bylaws, up to 15. I would like to make a motion I move to actually increase our board of directors to 14 seats. Is there a second?
Yeah, Judy just seconded. So then we don't need a roll call, do we, Patty?
She's in there.
Okay.
She's on her way.
Yeah, so Christina just made the motion to increase the size of the board to 14. And then Judy seconded it. I was just asking, can we do it as a group? We can vote as a group? Okay. All right, so all that say A's, say yes, or I don't know.
All in favor, say aye.
Thank you. Alan, aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we will increase the size of the board to 14. Thank you for motioning for that, Christina. I'll work on my votes. Anything else election-wise that you wanted to knock out?
I'm going to post on our website our list of nominees. We will have something sent to the membership. And then on the day of our holiday party on December 9th, people can vote in person. You do have to be a paid member of OPA in order to vote, so you have to be a member in good standing. And yeah, that's it, I think, unless I forgot something, Patty.
Oh, and afterwards, there will be online voting.
Yes, we
Yeah.
will send something out in case somebody was not able to attend the holiday party in order to
Right.
vote, because of course we want all the votes that we can get.
Any questions on that? Yeah, Chris?
Christina, will that be, yes or no to each person that's running? And if they have more yes votes than no votes, they get on the board, since we just go back and forth?
That is pretty much how it's going to be. It's a yes, no for each person, and if they have more yeses than nos, they're on. So thank you for that.
Looking forward to seeing how that goes, and there are bios to get to know some of these folks if you haven't bumped into them at the same meetings, had a conversation. I know Christina's done a lot of work to get all of those kind of profiles and information together. So thank you for the work, Christina. We're looking forward to getting the vote in.
We do have a couple people here who are running.
Yeah, I think you might have just been, Christina kind of like went around and said he was gonna do it. and
Okay, I'm
people-
sorry.
No, that's all right, that's all right. But yeah, did anybody want to say, okay. All right, we'll keep moving then. Next up, neighborhood grant. Patty, I know that you wanted to come
Yeah,
along.
actually, I needed to, I brought it with me so I could read, but it has to be done.
Okay,
And I was gonna grab it as I ran back, but you told me to run on one, so I did. I don't know, it's late, I'm tired. Okay, every year now, we've been getting a neighborhood grant offer from the city of Santa Monica. This is to cover, the expenses that we do, as a group. And there's a whole lot of information, that we read, but there are things that have to be done if we are to, apply for this. Now, this is money that it's not used for politics, it's not used for anything, but, what we need to keep ourselves running and, doing the projects that we plan on doing. And what we have to do is take a vote that we want to ask for the grant, first of all, because we would not. So.
yeah. Does anybody have any questions, or could we proceed with the vote?
Need a motion?
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna try this again. All those that are on the board in favor of applying for the grant, vote aye.
Aye.
Aye, all right, anybody nay? All right, the motion
Who made the motion?
passes. What was that?
Jeff,
Jeff made the motion. Okay, thank you.
for a second. Now, there's one other vote, and that is, there's somebody who has to apply for it. The applicant or, for the board of directors would have to be somebody who knows how to do it, and usually that's been me. But then again, if anybody else wants to give this a go, that's fine. No?
I know, Patty.
Everybody but Dave.
All in favor?
Aye.
And, then I'll start working on this, this coming week. I couldn't really do anything until I was given permission to do it. So,
Okay.
yeah,
I saw you were in Paris.
well,
That too.
that too, but it's still, yeah, still. I needed the vote.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you for that. The next thing on the agenda, last year, this is another vote that we need to take as a board. Last year during the holiday party, I think many know that there's also the tree lighting that's going on on the museum lawn. And last year we supported that event with a donation of $300. And we have been asked again if that is something that we would be open to supporting. So, I guess that seems like a thing that would make sense for us to do, but if anybody wanted to chat about it,
I move that we do that.
Okay.
So Patty, you have one second.
Yeah, we do have a
Okay,
meeting.
that's good.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So Judy motions, Jeff seconds. All those in favor of sponsoring the tree lighting for $300, vote aye.
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 And any nays? All right, so that passes unanimously as well. Awesome. Anything else from the executive committee that I missed?
How about storage?
Okay, yeah, we can talk about storage. So we did go, we got a quote for a new storage. It's next to where the Main Street Business Improvement Association has their storage in the basement of the, what used to be, I guess it still is a bank, right? No. So it's about 150 square feet, and the price does go up. It goes from $50 to $175. We've made an offer to give that person who is running the storage an opportunity to get in our newsletter to try to bring that price down. But it is something that we probably, we need. We don't have. We're basically like Christina had a lot of this stuff in her garage, so that's probably gonna happen here. Is that something that we also need to vote for? Or?
Well, you sort of, yeah, because it's going to be a bit of money. Anytime it's over a certain amount of money for the year, you need to vote on it.
Okay.
And even that's $50 a month we're paying for that little closet at $600 a year, so.
Right, okay. So does anybody have any questions on that? Like the storage space that we're gonna rent?
So the $600 is going away because we're not gonna have the little makeshift storage room, and we're gonna be spending 75 times 12, so
It's about $2,100.
$2,100. So $1,500 extra a year.
Yeah.
And they didn't take us up on the trade offer.
I don't think they're going to.
So was that the storage under the bank building, the Main Street's got this stuff?
That's what they're talking about.
That's what.
That's there, it's not under where it is now.
Right, yeah. That's what he's talking about, it's an empty space.
That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the same.
No. But they want $175 a month. Well, we have a storage locker, it's $161. And,
So
And
you're
it's
saying-
convenient. It's right on Main Street. I mean, that's the other thing. We wanted something that was close to all the things that we do.
Yeah. All right, so I guess, can I motion that we do it?
I'll
or-
make a motion because I think you're running the meeting. I don't think you're supposed to. So I move that we pay up to $175 a month for storage space spot number 9.
A second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, and hopefully we get it down. I liked how you worded that. That passes unanimously.
if any of you have ever been in the $50 storage locker, you can't actually fit in there.
Thank you for saying that. $50. It was a heck of a deal that we might have got.
It was a
10,
heck of a
50.
deal and we didn't have a lot of other things.
Yeah. All right, so in the interest of time, I think we'll keep moving. From the communications committee, any things to note? Connects or no? Okay, keep moving. Member engagement. I guess what I will say is the holiday party's coming, And we're gonna get details out on that. Members are welcome. It's gonna be sponsored by the Victorian. We're very thankful that they're doing that. And we encourage everyone, to join at the tree lighting. And like we've said, there will be the vote that takes place there.
Is there a joint share, are we sharing in on the cost
Is it
at the Victorian?
So part of the member, like fees, this is something that goes into, the annual event. So if, I can't remember if you're a member, yeah?
Yeah, this is.
Okay, yeah, so perfect. Does that answer your question?
I asked you if, is this group helping to pay for, the food costs for the event at
Well,
Victorian?
The last couple of years that we did it, the Victorian donated the food for us. We didn't pay anything. We used to pay when we were at the Mexican restaurant, we would pay, but they just put out a little spread and one.
They're paying for it.
They're basically paying for it, as far as we know. Things always change.
Yes, sorry, I misunderstood there. That's my bad.
And all the people who are members get a free entry. If you're not a member, maybe $5 or something.
You figure that part out?
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
Okay. All right. That concludes committee updates unless anybody has anything else. We can move into the, go ahead.
Well, are you going into committees?
Then we're going to task forces.
Okay.
Yeah, why don't you start us off, Judy?
Okay, the LGBTQ group met. We had an event at Lula's, and I thought, oh, maybe 5 or 10 people will come. And, it's our first time. We didn't really know how to invite people, and we had flyers at the booth at the closed streets, and we tried. And it turns out we had more than 40 people there. It was fabulous. And most of them lived in Ocean Park. Not all, but most. So it was a very successful beginning for the group. And we are going to have an event at my house on Saturday. That's a kind of Thanksgiving dinner, pre-Thanksgiving dinner, potluck. So, we're moving along. We are a task force of OPA, and it's very exciting. And people really, really, really wanted this group. So, the people who came to Lula's. So I just wanted to let everybody know, and we did get our $500 grant that we asked for.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do anything. I just told them I wanted it.
I wish it was all that.
Yeah, but then you have to follow up with all kinds of information.
You're gonna tell me what I have to follow.
Yes, I will, yeah. So we have $500 to be a part of the city's equity process where they're trying to find out what it is that people in the community really want. So that's what we're gonna do on Saturday at my house. We're gonna talk about that. So
Awesome.
and $500, hey, it's real. So I just wanted to let all of you know that that's happening, and it's very exciting for those of us who have felt like there wasn't anything local for LGBTQ people to, as a place to gather. So, and we're also in conversation with the church in Ocean Park as to how they want to help us use their spaces. So.
Where'd you get the grant from?
What?
Who paid you the money, the grant?
The city. It's a separate thing from the OPA grant. Any questions?
That's awesome. And that is a new task force that was created, like you were saying. So if there are people in the audience that want to, get involved and start any kind of a task force next year, we'd love to see it. You don't have to be a member to join the committees or task force. All right, arts, anything to update the group on? Nick or Chris or?
I don't think we have anything this month.
Okay. From a Main Street perspective, we talked about the upcoming event. Nothing to talk about there, I don't think, unless anybody. All right, diversity. I know Ian had.
Okay, that would be me.
Oh, right, we just talked.
Is he in there?
I think he has some kind of commitment tonight. So,
Yeah.
yes. Okay. From a renter's perspective, I don't know if anybody attended the SMR annual meeting was held last Sunday. Okay. Any highlights to share? I didn't make it, but I know that happened.
You got 60 seconds.
Very quickly, there was kind of a presentation by the hotel workers about what they are trying to do to organize and settle their strike, hopefully. There was it was an in-person meeting, and there were lots and lots of people there. So it felt like, oh, maybe we're starting to get out of COVID and starting to have neighborhood and sort of political activism happen. So it felt good.
That's fantastic. And I do know there was a town hall that's recorded and online that just talks a little bit about some of the new development that's happening in Santa Monica that basically kind of outlines why things like the Lincoln project is able to go up without some of the approvals that were necessary in the past. So from a housing perspective, something to check out if that's something that yeah, exactly.
You can find that on.
Yeah, and yeah, yep. And I don't think we have anything from a homeless perspective. Nick, anything you want to chime in there? No, okay. Education, Christina, anyone on that committee or task force rather? Have anything?
We had a new person join, Kelly, who's actually on the Zoom with us. I don't know if Kelly feels comfortable speaking. But she's been great and met some really cool high schoolers in our neighborhood and is looking to kind of start a new project under our task force. So if you want to take a couple minutes, Kelly, that'd be cool.
Sure. Well, in a nutshell, I live at 6th and Bay, and I have this group of high school kids that's been like loitering, for lack of a better word. But they're sweet kids, and the other day they'd left some stuff in my parking lot. My neighbor saw them and said something to them, and they came back and apologized. And long story short, they like came back in a group of like 10 to 12 of them and built out a whole little garden in my parking lot as like a make amends situation, and just had the best day. They were so sweet and so helpful, and were asking both of us, my neighbor and I, if there was anything else they could do in the neighborhood. And so I reached out to Christina. Sean set me up with her to see if there was a way for us to connect with the school to put together a program for these kids to volunteer fixing some stuff up in the neighborhood, like if it's a neighbor that needs a fence fixed or some gardening help or whatever. Because they came to me, like they were like, can you teach us how to use more tools? Like we like being outside. and they were so into it. And so if there's anything I can do to help coordinate that and get the adults to volunteer and get, you know, equipment set up from people I know or whatever it takes, I would love to help be a part of that, because it was great to see them so excited about it, and they've followed up. So that's about it.
Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, so that was really great. And we're gonna look at if people in the community see projects that might be good for that group, we'll probably put something, you know, in the newsletter, and we'll be reaching out to the schools and try to make something fun but a little bit formal for any of our youth that want to help, you know, contribute to Ocean Park.
That's awesome. Any other updates from any task forces that we might have missed? Emergency preparation, neighbor to neighbor. No, I don't think so. Okay. Any other updates that anybody wanted to give to the board? Yeah.
Ian texted me and said to remind me to announce that the Deputy Police Chief Jacobs, I don't know his full name, is going to be at OPA Connects, I think in early December, and it'll be in the newsletter.
Awesome. All right, well, I think that's all of the business then for the evening. We do have the reports. Patty, do we have a?
No, hold on to do it quarterly.
Oh, that's right.
Did it last quarter.
Perfect. And then I think that would just leave us with the minutes, right, Christina?
Yeah, somebody needs to make a motion to approve the October meeting minutes that were beautiful and sent to all of you for review.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for October.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor of approving the minutes? Aye. Any nays? Okay, I think that's everything tonight. We're ahead of schedule. Well, I'll make sure to tell Sean.
And
we need a motion to end also.
Just one second. Patty was adding something.
okay, I was gonna say, I have the treasurer's chest. If you want to become a member, or you want to update your dues. I also have a lot of food sandwiches that are really nice. You can take some home with you. Thank you.
Yeah, and I did want to say one thing here. I know Nick has gotten pretty busy with life with his baby. And so we wish Nick well. He's not, I mean, I hope that we'll still see him around a bit, but not running again for the board next year. You did say you're gonna make it to the holiday party, Nick, so people can, okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
definitely.
Amazing. Anybody else? Am I missing that for anybody else that
No,
should
but
be recognizing?
This is for Nick's ears. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. And I'm expecting Nick to second.
I second.
All those in favor? Yeah, aye.
Aye.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. One person is $20, if you're over 65.
Yeah, I did get a sign up from here, so hopefully that is what you need.